The morning light spilled across the freshly polished wooden floors of my home, warming the air with a soft, golden glow. It was Christmas Day, my favorite day of the year, the one time I still believed, even at my age, that magic could slip through the cracks of ordinary life. For weeks I had prepared for this. The garlands were hung perfectly, draping across the staircase like emerald waterfalls. Dozens of glittering ornaments sparkled on the 12-foot tree my son-in-law helped me put up, each one placed with the same loving precision I had used since Melissa and her brother were toddlers. My grandchildren's laughter echoed from the living room as they tore through the pile of wrapping paper they'd created. Their squeals were the bright, chaotic music that made the holiday feel alive. In the kitchen, cinnamon rolls cooled on the counter next to a roasting turkey that had filled the entire house with rich, savory warmth since dawn. Everything, every tiny detail, had been arranged to create a peaceful, loving Christmas, because this year was supposed to be different. This was supposed to be the year Melissa and I finally found our way back to each other. She had grown so distant these past few years, emotionally and geographically. Phone calls once a day became once a week, then every other week, then whenever she had the time. She rarely visited unless she needed something. Money, support, advice she wouldn't listen to. Still, I held out hope. I always did. By noon, the house was full. Relatives bustled between rooms carrying dishes. Children darted under legs like excited puppies, and old friends I hadn't seen since summer gathered around the fire swapping stories. I checked my watch. Melissa was late, but that wasn't unusual. She always liked to make an entrance. When her car finally pulled into the driveway, I felt the familiar tug of hope tighten in my chest. I smoothed my blouse, fixed a loose strand of hair, and stepped toward the door. She entered wearing a designer coat that probably cost more than the entire Christmas dinner. Her makeup was flawless, but her eyes were already tired and sharp. She smelled faintly of expensive perfume and something else, something bitter, like wine on a too-empty stomach. "Mom," she said with a tight smile that didn't even pretend to reach her eyes. "Melissa, sweetheart," I answered, forcing warmth into my voice. "Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas," she responded flatly, brushing past me as if the greeting were an inconvenience. Her children trailed behind her, silent and uneasy. They hugged me quickly before hurrying off to join their cousins. I swallowed the tiny sting their stiffness left behind. Something was off, clearly, but holidays were delicate. I wouldn't push. Throughout the afternoon, small tensions began to surface like cracks under fresh paint. Melissa complained that the house was too hot, then too cramped. She made snide remarks about the gifts I'd chosen for her kids, implying I had spent more on her brother's children. She glared at me across the dinner table every time one of the relatives complimented the food, and I didn't understand why. I had spent days preparing this meal, baking, marinating, setting the table with the heirloom porcelain she once begged me to save for her. Everything I did was for them. By early evening, after plates were cleared and dessert was served, I suggested we gather in the living room to make our annual Christmas toast. It was a tradition since Melissa was 5 years old, one of the last family rituals that still felt sacred. Guests filled their glasses and moved into a loose circle around me. The fire crackled behind the hearth, the lights from the Christmas tree glowing softly like captured stars. I lifted my glass. "Thank you all for being here today," I began softly. "This year has been—" A loud scoff cut through my words like a sharp blade. Melissa stood near the back, one hand on her hip, the other loosely holding a wineglass. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes cold. "Are we seriously doing this again?" she said loudly enough for the children to hear. The room fell silent. "Melissa," I said gently, "we're just—" "Oh, stop pretending, Mom," she snapped. "You always do this, acting like everything is perfect. Acting like asterisk, you're asterisk perfect. A few guests shifted awkwardly, someone coughed, the children looked frightened. Sweetheart, I'm not acting. Oh, you're not? Her voice sharpened like a breaking icicle. You think you're the victim all the time. Poor you, it's pathetic. My breath caught in my throat. I tried to steady my voice. I'm not sure where this is coming from, but this isn't the time. Oh no, she practically shouted. Maybe this is exactly the time. And before I could speak another word, before anyone could intervene, Melissa stepped forward, swung her arm, and asterisk threw her entire glass of red wine directly at my face. Asterisk, the liquid hit me with shocking force, cold, sticky, staining my blouse instantly. I gasped as it dripped down my neck, down my arms, splattering onto the carpet like drops of blood. The room froze, guests stared, mouths open, children whimpered. My niece covered her youngest daughter's eyes. Melissa just stood there, chest heaving, glaring at me as if I were something crawling beneath her shoe. I wiped my face with a trembling hand. I opened my mouth to speak, but no sound came out. For the first time in my life, I had no words for my own daughter. With a frustrated hiss, Melissa flung her empty glass to the floor, where it shattered into a brilliant, terrible spray of shards. Then she stormed out the front door, slamming it so hard the wreath fell to the porch. And just like that, Christmas, the holiday I had poured my heart into, was ruined. I stood there, red wine dripping from my chin, surrounded by stunned silence and shattered glass, understanding deep in my bones that something had broken that night, something that might never be repaired. For a long moment after Melissa stormed out, nobody moved. The only sound in the room was the crackling of the fireplace and the soft whimpering of my youngest grandchild, who didn't understand what had just happened, only that something terrible had passed through the room like a cold wind. My sister, Caroline, finally broke the silence. She stepped toward me slowly, her eyes wide with disbelief. Eleanor, honey, are you all right? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to smooth it all over, pretend it was nothing, pretend that my daughter throwing wine in my face in front of 20 people was just another one of her dramatic moments. But the words wouldn't come. My throat felt tight, like it had been stitched shut. I'm fine, I whispered eventually, though my voice shook. Let's just get cleaned up. My relatives helped me to the bathroom, while others distracted the children, trying desperately to restore some semblance of holiday cheer. But the magic of the day had been shattered as thoroughly as the wineglass on the floor. As I stared at myself in the mirror, my blouse stained, my hair damp, my face streaked with red, I felt years of hurt settle onto my shoulders like an old, familiar coat. This wasn't new. Melissa's anger had always come in waves, unpredictable and sharp, but this asterisk, public humiliation, intentional cruelty, and complete disregard felt different. This felt final. The days after Christmas were filled with phone calls, some from relatives who wanted to check on me, some from friends who had heard the story already through family whispers, some from Melissa's in-laws apologizing, though Melissa herself stayed silent. Has she called you? My brother asked on the third day. No, I said, folding laundry that didn't need folding just to keep my hands busy. Unbelievable. He hesitated. Eleanor, this wasn't an accident. That girl has been walking all over you for years. I didn't want to admit it. Not out loud. Not yet. That night, after everyone had gone home and the last dish was washed, I sat alone on the couch, wrapped in a soft blanket. The Christmas tree still glowed in the corner, but instead of joy, its lights filled the room with an aching, hollow sadness. I replayed the moment over and over in my mind, the way Melissa had looked at me, the bitterness in her voice, the deliberate cruelty. I asked myself 1,000 questions. What had I done wrong? What had I missed? Was there a moment, any moment, when I could have changed this outcome? But every memory I reached for brought the same truth back to me. I had given Melissa ***, everything ***. I had raised her alone after her father died. I had worked 2 jobs so she could stay in private school. I had paid for her college when she dropped her scholarship. I had bailed her out of financial scraps she created. I had supported her through every failed relationship, every job lost, every meltdown, every crisis. And through it all, she had grown more resentful, more entitled, more selfish. I had excused it for years, calling it stress, anxiety, depression, bad luck. But the truth, the one I didn't want to face, was that Melissa believed she could wound me deeply and repeatedly, and I would still patch up the cuts and pretend nothing happened. Because I was her mother, because she assumed I always would. On the 5th day after Christmas, a message finally came. Not a call, not a voicemail, not even a text. A *** social media post ***. A passive, aggressive tirade dripping with self-pity, implying she had been attacked and pushed at Christmas. That had humiliated her. People commented with sympathy, having no idea what really happened. That was the moment something inside me snapped, not with anger, but with clarity. I had swallowed enough poison pretending it was love. That evening, I pulled out my old file box from the closet. Inside were documents, property deeds, bank account information, my will. For years, Melissa had been listed as my primary beneficiary. She had always expected it, counted on it, even joked about it. She used to say, "Well, at least I know I'll get the house someday," as though it were guaranteed, as though I existed only to provide for her, even after death. My hands didn't shake as I opened the will. My breath didn't falter as I read the lines, and my heart didn't break not anymore as I quietly took a pen and crossed her name out. I rewrote the document carefully, deliberately. ***, the house would go to the grandchildren. ***, my savings to charity and educational funds. ***, my jewelry to Caroline's daughters. ***, everything else divided among the people who had shown me love, not demanded it. ***, Melissa was left with nothing. The finality of it was not vengeful, it was peaceful. Like closing a door gently after standing in the cold too long, I sat back, signed the page, and exhaled for what felt like the first time in years. I knew what this decision meant. I knew how she would react. I knew lines had been crossed that could never be uncrossed. But I also knew I had taken the first step toward protecting myself emotionally, spiritually, and for the first time, legally. The break between us had been growing for years, but on Christmas Day it finally snapped, and now nothing, absolutely nothing, would be the same. January crept in slowly, carrying with it a sense of quiet that felt both soothing and heavy. The house was finally calm again. The decorations were packed away, the floors scrubbed clean of any trace of red wine, and the holiday dishes stacked neatly in their places. But the silence was different now, less like loneliness and more like healing. I had made my decision. Melissa was out of my will, and out of the legal future of my life. Yet life has a way of testing a person's resolve. The first test came only 2 weeks into the new year. It began with a voicemail. "Hey, Mom, it's me. Just checking in. Call me back." Her tone was falsely casual, artificially light, Melissa's classic voice when she wanted something. Still, I didn't call back. I wasn't ready to hear her voice, not yet, not when the memory of wine dripping onto my Christmas blouse was still fresh in my mind. The second voicemail came 2 days later. "Mom, I really need to talk to you. It's important. Important." That word again, with Melissa, important, usually translated to expensive. A rent due, a sudden bill, a crisis of her own making. I didn't respond, and for the first time in my life, choosing not to rescue her didn't fill me with guilt. It filled me with strength. By the end of January, the calls increased. Then came the texts. Asterisk, are you mad at me? Asterisk, asterisk. Mom, you're being dramatic. Asterisk, asterisk. I said I didn't mean to upset you. Asterisk, asterisk. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Why can't you admit that? Asterisk, the last one hit something deep in me, not pain, not anger, but acceptance. It confirmed what my heart already knew. Melissa wasn't sorry. She wasn't reflecting. She wasn't growing. She was deflecting, manipulating, rewriting events to protect her pride. I put the phone down and walked away. The second test came in February. This time, it wasn't a voicemail. It was desperation. A message popped up on my phone while I was in the middle of pruning my rose bushes, trimming away overgrown branches so new blooms could grow in spring. The timing felt poetic. Asterisk, Mom, I need $3,400. It's urgent. Please don't ask why. Asterisk, I exhaled slowly, wiped the dirt from my gloves, and stared at the message for a long minute. In the past, I would have panicked, scrambled, emptied savings if necessary, because that's what mothers do. They fix, they protect, they sacrifice. But I was done sacrificing myself for someone who saw me only as a bank account and a punching bag. I typed a calm, steady response. Asterisk, I'm sorry, Melissa. I can't help you with money anymore. Asterisk, I hit send before fear or guilt could whisper in my ear. Her reply came less than a minute later. Asterisk, wow, unbelievable. After everything I've done for you. Asterisk, that line, asterisk, after everything I've done for you, asterisk, would have broken me once, made me cry, made me question myself, but not now, not anymore. I simply turned my phone off and returned to my roses, cutting away dead stems, pruning the damaged parts so the plant could breathe again. But rumors have a way of traveling, especially in a family as chatty as mine. By late February, Melissa heard the first whisper. Not from me, oh no, from relatives. She called me at 7:13 p.m. sharp. I stared at the phone as it rang, debating. Finally, I answered. Her voice was tight, controlled, too controlled. Mom, she said, I have a question. Yes. Are you removing me from your will? She didn't ease into it. She didn't pretend to care how I'd been. She didn't apologize or ask gently, or even show an ounce of humility. Straight to the money, straight to the entitlement. I felt a strange, peaceful calm wash over me, the kind that comes right before a storm breaks, and clears the sky afterward. Yes, I said simply, I am. Silence, a shocked, horrified, suffocating silence. Then what? What do you mean, asterisk, yes, asterisk? You can't do that. I can, I answered softly. And I have, you're my mother, she snapped. It's your asterisk responsibility, asterisk, to leave things to your children. It was my responsibility. I corrected, to raise you, to teach you kindness, to protect you. I did all of that. What I leave behind after I die is not an obligation. It's a choice. Her voice cracked, but not from sadness, from fury. This is because of Christmas, isn't it? You're seriously punishing me for one mistake? One mistake? My voice didn't rise. It lowered, steady as stone. You humiliated me, intentionally, in front of my grandchildren, in front of the entire family, and you haven't apologized, not once. I don't have anything to apologize for, she shouted. You provoked me. You always provoke me. The irony was almost unbearable. No, Melissa, I said gently, I protected you, even from your own behavior, for years, but I won't do it anymore. You're ruining my life. She whispered angrily, her voice trembling with entitlement rather than grief. No, I said, I'm allowing you to face it. A harsh inhale came through the phone. Then the line went silent. She had hung up. I sat there for a long time afterward, listening to the quiet hum of the house. And I realized something important. I didn't feel guilty, not even a little. Removing her from the will wasn't revenge. It was relief. Peace, boundaries that should have been drawn a decade ago. My revenge was simple. Asterisk, asterisk, I chose myself. Asterisk, asterisk, and Melissa, for once, would have to live with the consequences, not hide behind me from them. The sweetest revenge, I realized, wasn't anger. It was silence, distance, and finally, freedom. Spring came earlier than usual that year, a soft, blooming spring full of warm breezes and gentle sunlight. Flowers burst open along my walkway, bright tulips and daffodils lifting their faces to the sky as though eager to reclaim joy. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was blooming alongside them. The weight around my heart had lifted. The knot in my stomach, that had been tied for years, finally loosened. The quiet in my home no longer echoed with sadness. It resonated with peace. It amazed me how much clarity grows when chaos leaves your life. Melissa hadn't spoken to me in nearly 2 months after her outburst on the phone. No apology, no reflection, only silence. At first, I thought the lack of yelling or drama would feel empty. Instead, it felt like breathing after years underwater. But silence never lasts forever. Not with Melissa. It was late April when she showed up at my house unannounced. I was in the garden, wearing old gloves and kneeling in the dirt, planting lavender along the fence. I heard her car door slam, a sharp, irritated sound. I felt it in my bones before I even turned around. "Mom," her voice was tight, already brimming with anger. I stood, dusting dirt from my hands. "Hello, Melissa." She crossed her arms, sunglasses hiding her eyes. "We need to talk." I nodded and motioned for her to follow me to the porch. She stayed standing, hovering like a storm cloud. "What's going on?" I asked gently, though not with the softness I used to offer her. She let out a bitter laugh. "Really, you're seriously going to pretend you don't know? I'd like to hear it from you." She ripped the sunglasses off. Her eyes were red, whether from tears or fury, I wasn't sure. "I talked to a lawyer," she said. "They told me there's nothing I can do, that you can legally cut me out of your will, that it's allowed." She swallowed hard. "How could you do that to me?" Her voice cracked not with heartbreak, but disbelief, outrage, entitlement. "It wasn't something I did to you," I said calmly. "It was something I did for myself." "No," she snapped. "Don't act like this is about you. You're punishing me. You're trying to control me with money." "I'm not trying to control you at all, Melissa. I'm letting go." She opened her mouth, closed it, then spat out. "This is because I embarrassed you on Christmas. You're being ridiculous. You're overreacting." I took a slow breath, the scent of lavender drifting up from the garden beds around us. "You didn't just embarrass me," I said quietly. "You hurt me deeply, and it wasn't the first time, it was the last." Melissa blinked rapidly, anger flashing across her face. "So you're giving everything to my kids instead, to charity, to strangers, to people who have shown me love?" I replied. "Your children adore me, they deserve something good, and I deserve peace. You're abandoning me." Her words hit me like a cold wind. Once, they would have shattered me, but not anymore. I shook my head. "No, Melissa. You abandoned our relationship long before I changed my will." She stared at me, stunned into silence. For a moment, I saw her as she had been at 8 years old. Fierce, stubborn, brilliant, full of potential. And it hurt briefly to realize how far she had drifted from that child. But the ache faded, replaced by something much stronger: acceptance. "You can still choose to be in my life," I said softly, "but not like this. Not with cruelty, demands, or manipulation. If you want a relationship, it has to be healthy, respectful, mutual." Melissa's jaw tightened. I could see the battle inside her, the part of her that wanted to rage, the part of her that wanted to cry, and the part of her that simply didn't know how to be vulnerable. "You're choosing them over me," she whispered, voice trembling. "I'm choosing myself." I corrected. She looked away, blinking back whatever emotion was threatening to break free. Then, without another word, she turned, walked to her car, and slammed the door. I didn't chase her. For the first time in my life, I didn't chase her. As her car disappeared down the street, I realized something important. You can love someone deeply and still choose to walk away from their chaos. And sometimes that's the most profound act of love for yourself. The months passed quietly. Warm days faded into gentle evenings filled with good books, soft music, and visits from grandchildren who brought laughter and curiosity into every corner of my home. They didn't know the details of what happened, but they knew enough to hug me a little tighter, stay a little longer, and ask if I needed anything. For the first time in years, my relationships with the rest of my family flourished. Without constant drama orbiting around Melissa, everyone felt more relaxed, more genuine. My siblings invited me to dinners, my nieces stopped by more often, and the house felt full of love again. Not forced, not fragile, but real. And then Christmas came again. The house glowed with soft lights, the tree stood tall and elegant, and the smell of roasted apples and cinnamon drifted through the air. My grandchildren helped decorate the tree, laughing when I let them hang all the ornaments in one clustered section before I secretly rearranged them after bedtime. There was no tension, no anxiety, no fear of the next eruption, just warmth, just family, just peace. When we gathered for the Christmas toast, this time smaller, quieter, but infinitely sweeter, I lifted my glass and felt my throat tighten with emotion. "Thank you," I said softly, looking around at the faces that truly loved me, for being here, for bringing joy back into this home, for helping me find peace this year. My granddaughter hugged my waist. "We love you, Grandma." Tears blurred my vision, but they were good tears. Healing tears. I realized then that peace wasn't something that came when everything was perfect. Peace came when I finally released the things that had been breaking me. As we clinked glasses, I glanced toward the window. Snow had begun to fall outside, soft, glimmering flakes, drifting slowly from the dark winter sky. And I thought to myself, sometimes the sweetest revenge is choosing happiness. Choosing silence over chaos. Choosing peace over pain. Choosing yourself when no one else will.